So let's talk about this gentleman.
Bienvenue and welcome to 150 Days of Winter.
Hello! 7 screws, 1 plate. So as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to tell some ski stories from when I met Glen Plake. Initially, I was going to title this, "Is Glen Plake one of the nicest guys in the ski industry?" If you wanted me to answer the second question, I'd say definitely yes. Okay, so let's talk about this. Since the 90s, I've had the chance of meeting Glen Plake several times in different scenarios, and basically I've never failed to be impressed by this. I'm going to call him a ski legend because I don't know what else to describe him as. So back in the 90s, of course, I became aware of his skiing through Greg Stump movies, like I think most people did. I purchased my 3-pack of Flamingo, Art, Blizzard of Ours and The Good, the Rad, the Gnarly, which, if you didn't know, are 2 of the best ski movies ever made. Now in the UK, they were distributed by a company called Barrels. The high point of every year for a skier back in the 90s was a big expo in London for the ski industry. Literally everyone was there. In 1991, Glen was there with the release of License to Thrill. For my first meeting was larger than life, as I think most people are, probably down to, of course, the mohawk. He duly signed a poster for me, like so. Yes, I seem to have quite a few Glen Plake posters. He even went and signed this t-shirt, but that's another story. To explain, without sounding a bit sad, back in the 90s, which was the heyday of skiing, of the ski industry in the UK, there was very little material to actually watch. Okay, in those days you had one of 2 choices, Greg Stump or Warren Miller, and there was no archive of old footage to go. So for me, I was, to excuse the analogy, I was like a sponge, and anything that I could get hold of to get me back into skiing, I was there. Okay. Now, as someone who has since worked at that ski show, back in the heyday, it used to run for 2 weeks, which was quite a long time. Over time, it shrank. Of course, I'm not going to go into details. Anyway, I can imagine signing posters and maniacally laughing 5 hours a day might take its toll. If it did, he didn't show it. He was, the utmost professional. Now, fast forward to 2002, where Courchevel entered a team for the Boss to Boss mogul competition in Chamonix. Quickly describing the Boss to Boss as an inter-resort competition, which usually starts with that classic drunken line, "Our resort has better skiers than your resort," and the rest is history. Okay, I would actually love to talk to the organizer of the Boss to Boss, a guy called Tom, but that's for another video. Suffice to say, for about 8 years we competed. We won 1 and came last, or almost last, for 7 of those years. But that's not the point. You see, Glen and Kimberly Plake regularly skied for the Chamonix team as they lived in Chamonix over the winters. And watching Glen Plake ski bumps in the flesh is breathtaking. Actually, watching any pro skier ski bumps in the flesh is breathtaking. Okay, and every team had, I'm not going to say their ringers, but they had their pros, if you like. For Courchevel, we had Pat Sharples, who went on to coach the GB snow sport freestyle team. Zermatt had Jörg Binner, who represented Switzerland twice in the Olympics. Maybe it's because I came from a time when mogul skiing was the thing that everyone aspired to. Everyone's skis were narrow, no one skied powder, no one had skis that looked like snowboards. As time went on, and this is me sounding old, trying to describe who Glen Plake is to people who missed out on the whole Greg Stump movies, etc., is a bit difficult. And every year on the coach ride from Courchevel to Chamonix, which is like a 2-hour coach ride, I would go and put on Blizzard of Ours on the coach to give some people an idea. Some people got it, some people didn't. That's as far as I got. Now, throughout the competition, he was the perfect sportsman, okay? And when he wasn't getting ready to do a run, he was chatting to everybody and just, you know, just if for him, even, I mean, boss to boss isn't exactly like the top level of competition, but regardless, everyone took it seriously, and he basically enjoyed having fun. He would go and do a bit of ballet at the finish area when he'd done. However, one year, near the end of the tenure that we were there, one of the Courchevel's team, a guy called Ben, who is a really good skier, spent the whole season practicing a Lincoln Loop, which a trick that Glen Plake has popularised. Now, in the competition, he waited to be paired up to ski against Glen, and as they went off the kicker, he just as he came down, he caught an edge and didn't land the trick properly. Gutted at the end of the course, Glen came over and actually talked to him on his attempt and gave him some encouragement about how, you know, what he needed to do to get the Lincoln Loop absolutely right. I don't have to tell you, this made Ben's winter season. Well, that's what he said to me, at least. And of course, the second run that Glen Plake did, of course, he went and did a full-on Lincoln Loop, landed it perfectly, and it was like, oh my God. After the competition, everyone heads down to Chamonix town for an après-ski party and prize giving. And once again, Glen was always there, shaking hands and bringing smiles. I've even had the chance, by accident, of course, meet him at Geneva Airport, where not only did he recognise me, but we had time for a quick chat. Again, he could have so easily have gone, Alex, I'm going to get a flight, but literally we just chatted for a minute. Again, super courteous, and all these accounts are just my experiences with Glen Plake. Okay, whenever his birthday comes up, I post a thread on Reddit just wishing him happy birthday, and of course people down below basically generally say, okay, write your Glen Plake stories, which is probably why I'm making this video at the moment. And the thing is, there has never been a bad, or not even a bad, not an even mediocre story about somebody meeting Glen Plake. Here is an example of some of the stories that people have done on Reddit. I'm skiing Mammoth in May in perfect spring conditions. The park is nuts and the mountain is covered in pro riders. In the late afternoon and super slushy, so the pipe is empty. And there's a kid, maybe 12 years old, standing at the top of the half pipe looking nervous. Glen sees the kid, skis over and shows him how to use the walls of the pipe to make turns. He could have been off hanging out with a bunch of pros or doing a photo shoot or anything else, but instead he helped this kid have fun. That's what makes him a perfect ambassador for our sport. You know, what more can I say? Glen has been an inspiration for quite some time. I got a ski a run with him this winter when he showed up on my small hill. He congratulated me on my level 2 PSIA pin and gave me a ton of advice on how to go about level 3. In America, if you didn't know, he has a big RV and he does a tour around a lot of resorts. I know some Warren Miller photographers who say he's the nicest guy to work with, always upbeat and willing to do whatever it takes. Apparently some ski talent get all pissy when the weather isn't cooperating and they couldn't film. Glen would suggest doing things like taking headshots around the village, a real consummate pro. I can confirm I had a chance to ski with him in Utah in the late 80s. We had fun thrashing bumps and catching airs with super long skis. Just a fun guy to hang out with while skiing or on the chairlifts. I once met him in Ontario at a demo day, Blue Mountain. Told him I was the best skier on the mountain. Serious bucket list checked off. A super cool guy, been water skiing with him several times, oddly enough. I have of course seen in some of his videos that he does water skiing. I weirdly have more connections with Plake through water skiing than actual skiing. I've done both with him, but connection wise, it's way more on the water side. He's a legitimately cool guy. It's a shame this year, of course, that COVID has stopped him from coming over to Chamonix this winter, because I would have very liked to have interviewed him, but maybe that's for another video. Okay. If you have a Glen Plake story, I would love to read about it in the comments down below. And as always, subscribe, like, and I will see you all in the next video. Ciao.